This review is sponsored by anyone who actually preferred the Nickelodeon version of Doug than the Disney version. I'm telling you guys, it's a heck of a lot better. What's up, everybody? It's me, Bryson Booker here with a review of Doug's first movie, otherwise known as the first Doug movie ever. But it really didn't keep that name. So they just called it Doug's First Movie, released by Disney in 1999. This is a VHS release, but as you guys know, Doug was one of the first Nicktoons on Nickelodeon to air in 1991. Not going to go into that whole spiel with that, but just to let you know, Disney took it over in 1996 because Disney bought Jumbo Pictures. So they took it. They made toys, they made books, they made this movie to basically compete with the Rugrats movie, and really didn't do so hot. So let's jump into the review here. Got my notes, gonna give you a summary of the movie, and that's about it. So what else is included on this VHS is the special Doug-umentary that asks the top 10 questions about Doug. Now, I actually put that on my channel. It's the closing to the Doug movie. I put the opening credits and the closing. So you can check that out if you want to. It's okay, but let's get into the review of the movie. Okay, so just to know off the bat, Doug and Roger are not played by Billy West. As many of people know, Billy West played Doug in its Nickelodeon run, but during the Disney run, Disney couldn't afford Billy West because he was getting famous doing all this other sort of stuff. So they were like, screw it. They got this other guy, I think named Tom McHugh, I think. If I got his name wrong, you can look it up. Anyway, Doug and Skeeter are looking for a secret monster in the lake. Like, whatever, in Bluffington. Who knows why the heck they were out there doing that at night. You big knuckleheads, but it was the 90s. You could do that stuff in the 90s still. It's not like today. If it was today, they probably would have either got arrested or shot. Just saying. Just saying. But anyway, they're looking for a secret monster in the lake. While Doug daydreams about the school dance, and everybody is hyped about the Valentine's Day dance. By the way, this movie was released in March, so it was a month after Valentine's Day. Isn't that weird? So this must have been a big flashback for Doug, I guess, to make this whole movie. Anyway, he dreams about Patty Mayonnaise because she's going to be there, and of course, it's just been a reoccurring plot for Doug to dance with Patty Mayonnaise and be Patty Mayonnaise's number one friend. Skeeter seems to stumble on the lake monster with Roger and his gang. And he does. Roger comes out of nowhere being a butthole, of course, like Roger can be. And, Skeeter's like, is that the lake monster? He takes a picture of it. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Later in the movie, we found out that was the lake monster. And, it's kind of ridiculous because I guess this would work in a fictional story. But, I mean, if this was non-fiction, it would kind of be ridiculous to find one of those. To actually say a monster is believable to be in the lake. But, Meanwhile, everyone cares about the Valentine's dance. Everybody's going nuts about it. It's just like that thing where, Doug wants to join the committee. But we meet another butthole named Guy. G-U-Y. Guy. Not the group guy. There's a guy named Guy in a movie about Doug. But the guy's name is Guy. Get it? Got it? Good, Guy. Anyway, we meet him. He wants to be a butthole because he wants to work on the committee also with Patty Mayonnaise and doesn't want anything to do with Doug Funny. Doug also signs up. Roger plans a sneaky attempt to get back at Skeeter. In other words, he wants to build a robot so, to get Doug, but eventually that robot basically kicks his butt and his little gang builds it, and they planned it for Doug, you see, but it really was aimed at Roger. Roger didn't really know about that one. So, Guy takes over the dance committee while Skeeter tries to prove that the lake monster is real so that they can get famous, of course. And right here is where the movie tries to act like a Doug episode. Which, let me tell you something. When you're making an animated movie based on an animated TV show, the goal is not for the movie to be like the animated TV show. And that's where this movie falls short in some areas. Doug's first movie is basically like watching an episode of Doug. Which, if you think about it, I guess that's okay. But really, when you're making all of this, putting all this time and all this money into making this darn movie, you should at least make it over the top than the original show was. For example, take the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Take the Rugrats movie that was released a year before this movie came out. And basically, this movie was aimed to get back at the Rugrats movie, but obviously it didn't, because Rugrats was still popular. But think about those movies for a second. Those movies went over the top than their original series did. Doug kind of didn't, because, I mean, if there's a segment for Quill Man in here that really didn't need to be in here, yes, Quill Man is in this movie. It's just like the series, and there's other... Doug has flashbacks and everything, just like he would in the TV series. So that's kind of, you would think they would go over the top with that, but you know, it's Doug. You guess it's Doug. Now Doug and Skeeter search for the monster because they want money for it again, and so does Roger because he was like, "I'm gonna get a buck too." Roger tricks Doug and Skeeter to think that the monster is following them. To be honest, it actually is following them. Ha 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 ha. Not really funny, but yeah. It's following them. And they find out that the monster is real. It comes out of the lake. It's real. These guys have a wild imagination, don't they? And the monster looks like like Barney on crack. I'm telling you, if I can find a picture of that, I'm putting it in here. I love crack. You do too. Let's go smoke a blunt or two. Don't do drugs. Not to mention, they named the monster Herman Melville, based off a book he wrote. I think it was Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of a weird name for a monster, don't you think? Don't you think Cracky would have been more appropriate? Just saying, Cracky, the crackhead dinosaur. Just saying. Anyway, meanwhile, while all of this is going on, the plot kind of goes everywhere in this movie, but, you know, Mrs. Dink, you know, her husband, Mr. Dink, hey, Douglas! That was a pretty good impression. That was one of my best impressions yet. Anyway, Mrs. Dink doesn't want anyone to learn about Herman, so... They have to hide him and disguise him because, listen, while all of this is going on, Mr. Bluff is trying to plan an attack to capture the monster because basically it's Mr. Bluff's fault that the lake is polluted and the monster got created in the first place. Well, why couldn't have that been the plot before? Now realize almost 30 minutes into the movie this plot comes into play. During the first 30 minutes, 25 minutes, you don't hear anything about it. We finally hear about it, and the movie finally tries to redeem itself of quality, basically towards the end. So, Doug meets up with Roger's friends and Skeeter, and they have a plan, because, listen, Guy also knows about this too, right? Guy knows about this, because basically, he heard about it from, I think it was Doug. And then Guy told Patty. And then Patty gets mad at Doug because Patty thought Doug was lying about the whole situation when he really wasn't. He wasn't. The monster's real. But, you know, Patty being a butthole in the Disney series obviously gets mad at Doug and tells him to shoot. Like, I don't want you anymore. So, well, that's going for Doug. And obviously he's upset about that. The little sad dumpling. So, it's up to him, Skeeter, and Roger's gang to, you know, get the monster to safe keepings, in other words, back in the river where it belongs, before Mr. Bluff comes and takes it and gets all the joy and fame for himself. Basically, that's the whole summary of the movie. They save the monster. He goes back in the lake. Doug stands up to Mr. Bluff like, you can't do this. He's my friend. He's my friend. Mr. Bluff is like, okay, you big whiny crybaby, I'm done. He leaves. End of movie. Oh, wait, I forgot one part. We get to see a love scene between Doug and Patty. Finally! But it's not a very good one. I mean, they could have done a lot better with that scene. But anyway, he basically stops her dad from destroying the whole thing. Doug tries and Doug fails. Then BB comes out of nowhere and then says, hey, you big dope, don't do it. And then all of a sudden, since he wants to honor his daughter's request, he doesn't do anything to the lake monster. But, I mean, it's funny because a minor character actually saved the day, not Doug. Realize that, guys. A minor character really saved the day. But anyway, BB tries to get with Skeeter. Skeeter says no. Patty loves Doug. Doug and Patty dance. End. Stay tuned for the very cheaply made Doug-umentary. So, basically, that's the end of the movie. Final thoughts. This movie is... I think it really got better at the end. But during the first... basically the hour, I was seeing basically references to the show a lot. You had those daydream moments with Doug, and it really doesn't work in this kind of motion picture. Because, once again, you would go all out on a movie. I mean, to make it just like the show is just saying, this is just a bigger, longer version of the show. Yeah. No offense, South Park. That was actually pretty good. The Disney series ran on Doug for one more year, and it finally got canceled in 2000. So, basically, that's it. Doug's first movie. Released by Disney in March of 1999. And I also got some goodies in this video. I got an advertisement for the Doug Live show, which a whole bunch of people have uploaded that on YouTube. You can check that out. Not that good. It's a musical. I hate musicals. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, even the most decent Disney franchises have to be dumbed down into one of their cheesy musicals. You know, I'm really starting to wonder why Pepper Ann didn't get a stage show. And she was just as popular as Doug was. Then I got a coupon for some ragu sauce. $5 coupon. I might use that at Jules. See if it's still relevant. So that's it. Doug's first movie. A decent movie. It's not a good representation of the show, though.